We begin this morning with a Sunday morning attack by gunmen on the St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church in Owo, Ondo State of southwest Nigeria, killing an unspecified number of persons during a church service. Reports say the congregation was caught unawares as the gunmen opened fire on worshippers as the morning mass was on. The corpses, according to reports, have been deposited at the Federal Medical Center, Owo. Many of the injured are also receiving treatment in the hospital. Eyewitnesses say the gunmen also used some explosive within the compound of the church, but most of the people were hit by gunshots. The perpetrators were said to have fled the scene immediately.
What happened is that we are about to finish the mass already. The priest is already on procession to come out. Then I get outside. I was trying to say, people, please give way, priest is coming. Then the man just came in, very tall man like this. He just shot gun straight to the church straight. If to say aim me, he will kill me. Started shooting. Then the second person enter. Started shooting gun. Understand? So those people try to escape. There are many that died. People that died is up to 30. At this gate, those who died is up to 10. One of my brother died, yeah? He died, his daughter died. You know, when bullet was spraying, you don't want to stand up and look what is happening. Bullet to get you. I have to lie down on the ground. So that's how I escaped it. And my children escaped too. None of my children was injured.
It was very saddening, seriously, because the church was attacked after the last prayer. So at the end of the day, they just came in through the front door of the church and the back side of the church. They started shooting. No, they did not kidnap anybody. Nobody was kidnapped, whether the prince or all the people sitting down at the top of the church, at the pew, they did not kidnap them. So, but they kill people. They just here to kill. There's a security guard at the gate, but nobody knows the whereabouts of the security now.
Oh, the father was celebrating. Then this Boko Haram attack come inside the church, blowing bomb, shooting aside. Then members of the church are running away. Some follow for the back, run. Some follow, they start shooting some people from leg. You get one woman from back, from face, others shooting the leg, shooting. So, and now father now escape, go inside the house. As that in after then, the soldiers, before the soldiers come, they don't escape. I see more than 25 people where they carry go to hospital. When I hear the shooting gun, the bomb, I am sharp. Take away immediately. Now go save me.
It's a very great pity for us in this Ondo state, in governor's state, in Governor Arakunrin Akeredolu's resident, because this place is his residence. It's from this local government. And we people that we are seeing here, both Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, everybody, we know that one, but we vote for them. But what really happened now? I don't know what Akeredolu go fit do.
Angered by the attacks, Ondo State Governor Olurotimi Akeredolu says the state will track the perpetrators and make them pay for their crimes. The governor, who expressed shock and grief over the incident, said the attack has shattered the peace and tranquility of the people of the state enjoyed over the years. The governor described the attack as a personal loss. Akeredolu had to cut short his trip to Abuja to visit Owo and commiserate with the people. The governor asked the people to remain calm and vigilant. He pleaded with them not to take laws into their hands, even as he assured them that security operatives will be deployed to monitor and restore normalcy to the city. Incidentally, the governor is from Owo.
It's the most tragic event, horrific. I don't want to talk about what we see or what we hear happens in America. What has happened here is a child's play. What we have in America is a child's play to what has happened there. From information from the security agencies, this has the most dastardly act that can ever happen in any society. That it happened in a church, to say the least. is most condemnable. I had to leave Abuja immediately to be here because this is so important. I feel terribly grieved.
President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned the killings in Ondo State, saying Nigeria will never surrender to the evil and wicked people. In a statement by his special advisor, Media and Publicity Femi Adesina, the president directed emergency agencies to swing into action and bring succor to the wounded. The president said, no matter what, this country shall never give in to evil and wicked people, and darkness will never overcome light. Nigeria will eventually win. Is Nigeria winning?
We will. We will get there. But it's just, I don't know how many people have to die before we do. This is the tragedy here. And that this is not the first time this is happening in Nigeria. Just because it's a long time doesn't mean it's never happened before. It's just a really sad indication that we could be heading backwards rather than forwards. It happened in 2011 on Christmas Day in Madala, which was near Abuja. Gunmen killed 37 people and injured scores more. Just because we haven't heard anything on that level, I think a sense of, I don't know, according to the ruling party, a sense of how we've turned a corner, how we've made improvements, took over. But now we can see that we really haven't at all. Yes, if we're looking at global ratings, Nigeria has improved according to the Global Terrorism Index, but we still remain one of the most terrorized countries in the world. I believe we're now one of the 6th most terrorized countries in the world. But you now have this kind of a stark reminder, vulnerable people, and there are reports that women and children were targeted. There were also reports that were contradicted by this report that we just watched, that there were abductions as well. But that gentleman said that there were no abductions, they just came to murder. And obviously, conspiracy theories now abound. I don't want to get into the speculation, but there are people who are saying, oh, it's deliberate to sow ethnic tensions in this country as we head towards the elections. Governor Akeredolu did the right thing. He left politics in Abuja and came home immediately, as he ought to do. I'm not suggesting in any way that what they're doing in Abuja now is trivial. It's not, because it's all the activities leading up to the 2023 election are to decide the future of this country. It's extremely important. But he did the right thing to go home and make the right noises. President Muhammadu Buhari's statement also makes the right noises, talking about eternal damnation and of the demons and what have you. But again, I thought about it, that Femi Adesina has had to get his thesaurus out, because it continues having to make the same statement, having to look for new ways of saying the same thing. We're seeing a lot of motion without any real movement. That is my fear. And my other fear is, where is next?
Well, all the right adjectives have been used. Vile, cruel, an attack on humanity, and how, this is the handiwork, as the presidency has noted, of demons. The president's statement also says, the killings are heinous and all of that. But the question is, Nigeria continues to fail its citizens, whether it's in the northeast or in the northwest or in the eastern part of the country, and now in the southwest. And the question is, which part of the country can confidently be considered safe? As we can see, none. Yesterday was Black Sunday at the St. Francis Church, Catholic Church in Owo. And it was day of the Pentecost, a day when, people will go to church and assume that, a church should be a safe place where they can look up to God. The Pope has also issued a statement to commiserate with the families. But look, these commiserations have been very loud, very detailed from every direction. But the issue is, would this not happen again? This is coming just a week after the prelate of the Methodist Church, Samuel Kaluuche, was abducted along with 2 other members of the Methodist Church in Abia State. A week later, we have this tragic, brutal killing in Owo, very close even to the palace of the Olowo of Owo. According to accounts by officials of the Federal Medical Center in Owo and also St. Louis Hospital, where the injured and the dead were taken. One account said, 35 persons were brought in dead. Another account says, 28 people were brought in dead. As the foreign, news outlets, some of them are reporting up to about 50 persons had died, and many are still injured. The only problem is that the people who have been killed, they did not need to die. The only problem they have is that they are Nigerians. In a country where you may not be safe at home, you may not be safe on the road, you may not be safe inside a vehicle, you may not be safe inside a train, and then we keep getting these, reports all the time. And all you get is just, statements of sympathy and condolence, to the affected families. Yes, okay, yes, the president, issued a statement and all that. But I've also had people who have said that, could it have been possible to shift the dinner in Abuja? Because a statement was issued, the politicians, they still went on with their dinner. There was greater emphasis on politics. Another question that has been raised is, okay, this attack was after church. At what point did the security agencies get there? The excuse may probably be, as is often the case, that they did not have operational vehicles or that there was no fuel in their vehicles. Maybe if they had shown up, because we understand that there were distress calls, people had left the church, the priests who were still inside and part of the congregation, they quickly locked the door and started asking for help. At what point did that help get to them? The third issue to look at again is that, does this have any political undertones? You recall that the governor of Ondo State, Arakune Akeredolu, he's the leader of the Amotekun in the entire Southwest. He also had issues with herdsmen, when Ondo State had to invoke an existing law on the integrity of the forest. So was his own local government, a location in his own local government, was it specifically targeted? Another question that can be raised is that, what is the implication of this for the unfolding political process in Nigeria? And there's some fifth columnists who just wants to cause problems. Because I see a story in this day today indicating that, look, what happened in Owo may have changed the calculations about Northern presidency that some people are pursuing, and that there are persons who are already saying, well, people can't be targeted like this, and then you are still talking of Northern presidency. And then some governors are saying that, look, this is one justification why Nigeria should even look in another direction. Maybe if a retired general could not solve the problem, if a Northern president cannot solve the problem, maybe a Southern president will be able to solve the problem. It is particularly sad because Ondo State has been relatively peaceful. And the Southwest has also been relatively, peaceful when you look at the other parts of the country. Now, Owo is just about three and a half hours to Lagos. To Ibadan, it's shorter. It's about 2.5 hours. So the trouble is almost in the country's commercial capital, and that's why the level of alert should go up. The threat level is going up. Because it looks like, some people are probably bringing their madness to the Atlantic Ocean. And Nigeria should not wait until that happens. Now, in the context of election, every effort should be made to make sure that nobody sabotages the electoral process. It's very frightening, and I've read quite a number of commentaries on this incident, and everybody is in unison that we have every reason to be afraid the way things are going in Nigeria. Of course, Christian community will again see this as an opportunity to remind everyone that there is an attack against the Christian community in Nigeria that is premeditated, that is deliberate, whether the issue is blasphemy or some persons from the underworld going with improvised explosive devices to attack a church and following up with a massacre. The Owo massacre is unacceptable.
A Nigerian singer, Bukola Elemide, popularly known as Asha, sang a song. She said there is fire on the mountain and nobody seems to be on the run. And that's the case of Nigeria. But it didn't just start. And that's why we should be careful the state should stand strong. Because you can condemn all you want, but once you don't create solutions, the problem continues. I ask, what solutions were created to the Gongo killings? Ibarapa area, the people that were killed there, the skirmish that resulted, what solutions were created? What solutions have the state created to the killings in the East? What solutions? What solutions did the state create to various blasphemy murders, like the one that happened in Abuja recently again? What solutions? What solution is the state going to create to this Owo killing? I ask those questions specifically. We want the betterment of our country, but the state has to stand strong. We need to speak truth to power. The problem is we lie to ourselves too much in Nigeria. We don't say the truth. And when you don't say the truth because you want to cover people, then it comes back to haunt you. We all remember Father Nimola. First, they came for the socialists. I said nothing because it didn't concern me. Then they came for the Jews and Gentiles. No, I said nothing. Then they came for me. But because I said nothing in those two cases, nobody was there to speak for me. Let us say it the way it is. The only reason why people died in Owo was because they are Nigerians and their state has failed them. We want Nigeria to be good. We want Nigeria to win. But the state has to show a willingness that it wants to win this conflict. Is this not in the state we've had too many times issues of complicity? You remember what the prelate said in his interview that the military reacted to? You remember when people like Sheikh Gumi came here and talked about complicity in the system? We remember how the military infrastructure in Kaduna was overrun. What was said about all of that? We remember when a certain Air Force, when a certain Commodore came on another TV network to make grave allegations. You see, we can't build a country where when people speak truth to power, then you call them and say, come and answer to security agencies, and you try to shut them up. We can't build Nigeria this way. You ask a very good question, Tundu, who's next? If it's me or if it's you. But one thing I can assure you, that whoever is next, it will be on record that Nigeria failed them again. But I want to just extend prayers and commiserations to the family. I pray that God will heal their soul, because it is only God that can heal the soul of a man. And I pray that God will build a new house of peace in them. You know, just like the church that was attacked, named after patron Saint Francis Xavier. And if you check the meaning of Xavier in Spanish and Old Basque, it means new house. But the states should do well by its people. There is fire on the mountain. That's all on News Headline. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll have Ruth Zodiri Michael waiting to give us updates on Africa global business activities. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the morning show here on the Rise News. For Global Business Update, Michael Wilson joins us now from London. Good morning, Mr. Wilson.
Good morning. Now, this week is going to be dominated by the US inflation figures, the CPI figures, but so that's much later in the week. This morning shares in Asia Pacific actually fairly mixed. Again, a similar kind of picture that we've been facing in the past week or so. Another private survey shows another contraction in China's service industry. However, the Shanghai up about 1%, the Hong Kong Hang Seng up about 1% as well. So this hikes in services purchasing managers index. It came in at 41.4. It's much better than what happened in April. Remember, that was really a month of big lockdowns as far as China was concerned, but it's still in contraction territory, and it comes on the back of a non-official print of 47.8, which was last week. But it has announced, China has announced a further easing of COVID lockdowns, particularly in Beijing, and that's actually helping it, as are the glimmers of hope that the United States may be, just maybe, relaxing some of those trade sanctions it put on China. Never mind that, though, as far as the Indo-Pacific deal is concerned, we were talking about that last week. China is pushing towards the world's largest trade deal. So amid all that stuff that we were hearing from Joe Biden last week, this is called the RCEP, and it includes China and the 10-member ASEAN bloc, together with Australia, Japan, South Korea, and New Zealand. RCEP, that's the it's a partnership of, it's called the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RECP, much easier to say, RECP, and it's meeting in the southern island today of Hainan, and it probably will focus on ready-to-go trade deals, so we can expect to hear a lot about that. As far as the United States is concerned, let's turn our attention to a recap of what happened. It was a bit of a losing week last week. It was a fairly foreshortened week. And the futures have gained a little bit as it gets into its trading day later on today. The blue chip and NASDAQ both lost ground last week. Investors are grappling with these fears of when interest rates are going to rise, by how much, thinking 50 basis points, i.e. 0.5%, next one and the next one too. But the US economy actually added 390,000 jobs. Those are the figures on Friday. Added those jobs in May, came in much better than expected. So really, there's all sorts of things about that. Where is this bear market rally going? What's going to happen in a tight labour market? The bear market rally, I mean, you take your choices really. Is the sentiment environment actually getting slightly better in the United States? Who knows? One person who doesn't think it is Elon Musk, who is gone negative on the US economy. He's said that 10% of his executives will face the sack. That's a tenth of them. These are salaried employees. Joe Biden was asked about Elon Musk's attitude, and he said, well, Tesla may be cutting back, but Ford isn't, and others were ramping up. Well, we'll see about that. However, that's the no Monday morning would be complete, would it, without a bit of Elon Musk telling us where to think. The EU, the ECB plans to counter the tightening turmoil. Now, ECB is going to meet this week. We're going to hear more about how it's going to tighten its quantitative easing program, maybe a rise in interest rates. Most people are expecting that for the rise in interest rates will be the first time will happen in July. But remember, it has just got 200 billion euro still to play with. That's come out of its existing program, so that may help some of them. To the UK, we're going to get PMIs this week, particularly about services, manufacturing, and so on. The biggest fall, 58.1% in April, down to 51.8 in May. That's the biggest non-pandemic fall. So what we're seeing about the way people are shopping in this country, service markets, service industries, and so on, may be reflected in the fact that 70 companies are going to try this. They're going to trial a 4-day week and see if that adds to productivity. But people will get paid exactly the same. Remember, just back to Elon Musk, he was saying, wasn't he, last week, that he expects everybody back in the office. Thank you very much indeed. Here's a peculiar one from Ryanair. They're forcing South African companies to prove their ID in Afrikaans as they get on planes to come either to the UK and the EU. People are looking at this and thinking, what on earth is going on here? How weird this is. This is after the head of Ryanair was calling for the army to be brought in to help queues through airports and so on. Afrikaans, it's a strange choice, really. It doesn't affect people who don't speak it, who are coming from outside. So this is just from South Africans coming outside. They're worried about fake passports. And it has to be said that Afrikaans is not it's not the most widely spoken language in South Africa. It's about the third, and the first is Zulu. The Eurocontrol, we're going to see a lot of air traffic control problems over the summer, people going on holiday, more misery. That's just been piled on what's going to happen in the UK about the RMT union. It's meeting tomorrow, so there'll be train strikes probably in this country. There's an underground strike today, and there were 150 flight cancellations in Gatwick over the weekend. And finally, oil relatively steady as far as that particular commodity is concerned. It's actually rallying slightly because of the relaxation of the COVID curbs, but there's still still worries about maybe Venezuela's coming on stream and so on. Saudi Arabia's upped its prices. There are all sorts of mixes going on, but at the moment the price is relatively steady. That is your global view.
All right, Michael, let's talk food this morning. Russia is ready to play ball, I suspect, after the meeting with a couple of people and then talking to Macky Sall, the Senegalese president. What do you think they'll do for the food markets, the wheat, the grain, as regards the Ukrainian export that are pending? And secondly, concerning the Ryanair story, that's pure racism at its finest, because Afrikaans is the language of the colonizer. So Ryanair, is safe to say, is racist. That's all. 3, the Eurozone, QE starting all again, tampering with interest rates. Do you think the ECB will get it right?
Okay. Yeah, Ryanair, it's a very peculiar move, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. It is. It looks from the outside particularly racist. And again, Afrikaans is not the most spoken language in the country. This applies to people who South African nationals actually travelling outside the country to the EU and the UK. Ryanair's doing it, it says, because it's worried about fake passports. I have to say, I quote it as a story that's happening. I mean, it speaks for itself, doesn't it? As far as Russia and grain is concerned, look, I honestly don't think it matters about these international promises and talks and so on. Russia is quite seeing itself as a commodity giant. Nothing without its say is going to come out of Ukraine. It owns grain, it owns wheat, it owns oil, it owns gas. It is a commodity powerhouse, so no question about that. In fact, it's been raking in. I was looking at some figures. Forgive me for going to these, but I was looking at some figures yesterday, and I wrote them down because I thought we might be talking about this. Listen to this, right? So, as far as the EU is concerned, it comprises a lot of countries, as you know. Greece, Cyprus and Malta being amongst them. What is special about those countries? They are massive, massive ship owners. And as far as oil is concerned, it was 58 million barrels a day being transported by the shipping lines of those countries. It's now $178 billion. Million
barrels. Million barrels per day.
That's the one. Yeah. Thank you. And so you can see, and this is Russian oil. So A, there is a market for Russian oil. B, there will be a market for all sorts of Russian commodities as well. So that will continue. I think we're a long way off. I don't even believe now, having looked at the figures over the weekend, that basically some of the sanctions are really hurting the Russian economy. Not at the moment. They probably will in the future, but not right now. And as far as the EU is concerned, yes, I mean, look, they've taken their time, haven't they, to try to do this. There's still a lot of negotiations to go through with some of the member states that are really worried about what the increase in the price of their debt is going to be. It looks like there still will be quantitative easing in some of them. Again, big discussions to take place. I don't envy any of their jobs, but they set themselves a task all those years ago when they founded the EU, and this is what you get now. This is the reckoning, and this is how they're going to have to sort it out. And there's a meeting, I think it's Wednesday this week, and we'll hear about it then.
Okay, Mercedes last year recorded over 1 million cars. Now we're being told that Mercedes is recalling almost about 1 million cars again for reasons of faulty brakes. 70,000 of those cars alone in Germany. Vehicles sold since 2018. Now, would those who purchase those vehicles, are they entitled to some form of compensation for having been exposed to unnecessary risk? Because if this happens all the time, then there must be a system in place to ensure that faulty vehicles, are not taken to the market? Or is this a failure of quality control that we keep seeing from Mercedes-Benz? Now, secondly, Indonesia has tried to roll back on its ban on palm oil exports. It now says farmers can export up to about 300,000 tons per month. This is the same Indonesia that used to export up to about 2.5 million tons per month of palm oil. And now it says 300,000 per farmer per month on the average. And the farmers are complaining. They're saying cost is still high, profit is still low, and there is this domestic market obligation that the farmers have to respect a price control mechanism by the Indonesian authorities. So all of this as part of the food crisis that we're facing in the world, wheat in Ukraine, soybean, and all the grains coming from Ukraine. Ukraine now has had to increase its benchmark rate by almost 50% or more, about from 17 to about 22 or thereabouts. Now, okay, would this 300,000 tons that Indonesia is making available, will it even scratch the surface within the international community?
I doubt it very much indeed. I mean, you can see how governments are trying to cope with this food crisis. It's very, very difficult indeed. And we saw India, didn't we, restricting its exports. Again, the farmers, I wouldn't imagine, particularly happy about that, because it means they're not getting an income from their exports. I don't quite know how it's channeled through their companies. Will what Indonesia is doing make a difference? I doubt it very much indeed. I think that, again, the big tectonic plates of where commodities are coming from are changing all the time, and we haven't seen most of this. I was looking at some figures yesterday, and really the only people that are benefiting from what's happening in the world shortage at the moment is ironically Russia, which is getting a huge income from oil, which it's selling to China and India, as we understand it, at very discount prices, and the same as far as wheat's concerned as well. So it's all very difficult. Mercedes, I don't know, I suppose what you do is you really need to speak to your dealer, don't you? Is it a failure of quality control? It looks like it, doesn't it, Doctor? I mean, again, I'm staggered that so many of these cars are actually these days, coming out of a factory. But again, they're not all necessarily manufactured in Germany, are they? So it must be fairly difficult for a company like Mercedes to have an international quality control system, but they still advertise the cars, and those who can afford them buy them, so it's up to them. I think it's time to get in touch with your local Mercedes garage, quite honestly.
Well, we've run out of time, Mr. Wilson, but just a quick comment on that story you shared about that 4-day work week trial. I do think it's feasible. 100% of the pay for 80% of the work, but 100% of the productivity. And it's really interesting because it's such a broad trial, from a chippy to software company to a tax specialist. I'm really interested in the results, and it's going to be replicated in Spain and in Scotland. Because whose idea was it anyway that we had to work a 5-day week? I'd actually like a word with that person. Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson.
I'm like you. I'd love to work for the company that paid me for 5 days and only asked me to work for 4. I don't know where the 5 days came from. I mean, it used to be that Sunday was a day of rest. People used to work in this country most of Saturday as well, and it was only Sunday that was seen as a day of rest, and that's to do with the church and all that stuff. How we got to a 5-day week, I'm not quite sure. A 4-day week, what at least they are saying is that they're going to measure it, they're going to test it, and see whether it does in fact improve productivity, only to be working 4 days rather than traipsing in for 5. I really couldn't comment. I would like to go and work for those companies. Thank you very much.
Yes, I'll be keeping a close eye on that. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Now our dependable Rotus Adiri is here to give us an African business update. Morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Tunde. Good morning, Farah. Good morning, Doctor. I support the 5-day weekend. It makes you appreciate the weekend more. We are working 5 days. It's too short.
So too much work is not productivity.
That's the point. But
there's a difference between productivity and work.
Are we productive here?
Are we some countries work for 4 days.
For 4 days, yeah.
There are countries where the working week. No, it was proposed by the governor of Kaduna State, Nasir Rufai, at a point when he said, "Look, you don't have to work every day." It doesn't equate to productivity.
It doesn't.
That's another subject.
It is another subject. All right, let's get a very interesting subject. Capital importation. Look, look, yeah, you know the trends, you know the patterns here for Nigeria. First quarter of 2022, 5-year low at $1.6 billion. Lagos State accounted for 71% of all the money that came in. The banking sector also accounted for, 60-70% of all the funds that came in. Quarter on quarter was a 30% drop. Year on year was a 17% drop, and it's just portfolio investments. I think money market instruments, stocks are what accounted for most of the money that came in. Doctor, you've termed it appropriately as hot money. We talk about this a lot. Foreign direct investment very, very low. It prompted an article from the Guardian this morning. I think we're going to take a look at it, where they asked, is Nigeria becoming uninvestable for foreigners? And here's a quote from I think it's the assistant business editor at The Guardian. If you take a look at this quote, where he brought up the subject of insecurity and its impact on investment, saying investment flow is a decreasing function of insecurity, and that is the point those who have warned about the long-term consequences of escalating insecurity have emphasized. Look at the tragic events in Ondo states that you all have already spoken about. So it's pretty terrible. Still in Nigeria, aviation. There's a tweet from the Ministry of Aviation. Hey, the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority will today present the air transport license to the interim management of Nigerian Air, and Nigeria's. Why are you snickering? Nigeria's national carrier at the NCAA corporate headquarters in Abuja. So look, Hadi Sirika has been, he's been, pushing this heavily. And, well, it's a license. It's an operating license. But I think the real main issue here is the fleet of planes, the financing, the domestic international routes. That's really what we're looking for. So, and didn't he say that first quarter or second quarter of this year was when Nigeria Air would take off?
Yeah, he said June, July.
Okay, you said June, July. Well,
I remember thinking just in time for the summer.
All right, so
you want me to take you back to the Fambro Air Show?
Where all that happened. So
God.
So anyway, the license is going to be received today. Very quickly, some stats. Tanzania, mobile money in Tanzania grew about 10% between January and March, so 35.7 million. Tanzania's population is roughly 60 million, so that's almost 60% of folks there with mobile money. So growth of 9.8%, according to their regulator, the Tanzania Communications Regulatory Authority. If you look at the breakdown, Vodacom, I believe, had the highest market share with 40%, Millicom Tigo 26%, Airtel 21%, Halotel 9%, then the Tanzania Telecommunications Corporation at 4%. Quickly jump to Kenya. The MPs, lawmakers in Kenya are seeking to halve value-added tax on cooking gas, reintroduced it at 16% last year. A 13-kilogram cylinder of cooking gas is up, that was as of March when I got that data. We're in May now. The figures are probably higher than 68%, but it's double-digit increases, 3,400 shilling cost for that. So they are looking to reduce the value-added tax to 8% to try to cushion the impact of rising prices. Remember, there is an election in Kenya coming up in just a couple months. So that's what they're looking at as far as lawmakers are concerned. Then we go to the Central Bank of Kenya. They're denying a US dollar shortage. The Kenya Manufacturers Association of Kenya came out last week saying that they're not able to access dollars. I think it's depreciated to 117 shillings per dollar. They were saying they're buying on the about 120. So that could, give birth to a black market that will not be conducive to them. Dr. Patrick Njoroge, who is the governor of the Central Bank of Kenya, well, he had this to say. I think you can guess what he said. He said, if you have a sector, I think he's referring to manufacturing, that's importing 90 million or 100 million, that is nowhere near the 2 billion that we are putting out in terms of FX sales to the market. So the Manufacturers Association should understand that they are small and they should go to the market like everyone else. And Sundu, have you seen this story before? that's a bit cheeky. Yeah. So there we go. That's what's happening over there.
I want to talk about our airline.
Yes, the Nigeria Air. Nigeria Air.
I think it's one of those things. It's a promise, so it has to be delivered, because there are people like me that are quite pedantic about that. Right. Whether or not the promise should have been made is an entirely different issue. For me, it's one of those things that points to human beings being more emotional than logical, because when we're looking at the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, would a regional airline not make better sense at this point than
yeah.
a national carrier, given all the problems that they constantly have. You share so many stories with us about Kenya Airways, South Africa Airways, even Ethiopia. It's not. Look at Air India that had to be sold to Tata Group.
Right.
What was that last year?
Yep.
So what chance does Nigerian Airways really have? Or Air Nigeria?
There's
Sorry
so many
for that. I have to
variations. There was
harken back to the
Virgin, there was so many of them.
Yes. What chance does it actually have
at
in
this
the
particular
practical
time?
Yes, after COVID.
Yeah, and this government has how many more months in power?
That's why there have been fears, there have been doubts, a lot of uncertainty surrounding Nigeria, which has more or less become a Hadisirika,
passion project.
Yeah, I like that phrase. I would have used a more aggressive phrase. But let's say that for the Buhari administration, reviving Air Nigeria or putting back Nigeria Airways, as it were, has been one of the major issues. But there's been a lot of back and forth on these. They had a show in England the other time. They also at some point said, they had paid up for a number of aircraft that would be delivered almost about 2 years ago. Nobody has had that. Now, the big thing that they say will happen today, according to the Ministry of Information, is that the NCAA, Civil Aviation Authority, is going to give an ATL, right? Which is the license, right? But they still need an AOC, which is the Airline Operator Certificate. So even if they get the license today, it's no guarantee that those scheduled and unscheduled flights at home and abroad that they are talking about can still happen in the life of this administration.
Right.
I hope that this will not end up as one of those elephant ideas, elephant projects. The other thing to worry about is that, well, many airlines are not doing well across Africa.
That's correct,
Kenya Air, they're struggling. Even South African Airways, they're struggling with it. But, okay, it's prestigious to say Nigeria Air. And there have been many proposals on the table as to how this should be done. The federal government has 5% of it. A technical partner will take 49%. Maybe you and I can buy the remaining, percentage. But what is the guarantee that it will work? What is the guarantee that it will not go the way of Nigeria Airways?
Right.
Nigeria not having a reputation, a good reputation, for managing any enterprise. So that 5% that the federal government is holding to serve what purpose? So it's nothing to celebrate yet, until we see it happen and until we see how it turns out. All the other airlines within this sector, they've been crying, every day. They need help, they need support, and yet somebody is still on this Nigeria Air issue. As for capital importation, that has been dropping for years, year on year, quarter on quarter. Now, and that should not be surprising. You quoted the assistant business editor of The Guardian talking about insecurity. Who wants to come and invest in a place where you can go to church and you get killed? Right? Who wants to come and invest in a place where you can go and be kidnapped? So within the investing community, Nigeria is more or less becoming a pariah state, a pariah area. So that's why nobody is moving very fast with their final investment decisions. Everybody is watching. Okay, they are not just watching. The situation has been further complicated by political risk. This is no longer the season for investment. The politicians are the ones carrying dollars up and down. And we have a terrible foreign exchange regime. People cannot import for airlines don't have a foreign exchange. Okay, which investor will come and invest at this time? When you don't even know the kind of forex situation that we have. So I think the investment community is adopting a wait-and-see attitude. Let Nigerians finish this, their dollarized political process, where bribery is the engine oil of politics in Nigeria at this moment. Maybe when they finish and there is stability, there is certainty. So it's to be expected, of course, that investors will try to play safe based on market intelligence, which is in your face, as it were.
Indeed. And also in our face, you can see smaller countries in East Africa doing well with mobile money, deepening financial inclusion, deepening penetration, starting up new businesses. There's a level of fecundity in their own economy because, yes, they have problems, but they're thinking right. They're allowing the pass-through effect of innovation herald the economy. But what are we doing here? the biggest economy in Africa, we're not getting capital importation. Why? Because people don't believe in the economy. This was not the case. If you juxtapose this with figures in 2015, it was different.
Yep.
I think Nigeria was rated number 5 investment destination in Africa.
Right.
2015. Now, we've dropped
out of the top 10.
We're out of the top 10. We're no longer on the pecking order. So between 2015, that we used to be very attractive, and now we're no longer attractive because of insecurity. Apart from insecurity, the body language of government.
Well, President Buhari was in Spain last week.
What?
He said that the Spanish people should look at investing. I just have to bring that up.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry, I just want to bring that up.
The body language of government. The body language of government is anti-business. That's the real problem. The body language of government is 100% anti-business. You think people will do business? You shut your borders for how many?
I thought we had an ease of doing business.
Which ease of doing business?
Council.
No, that's one of
which
the
ease of doing business?
Yeah.
It's not practical.
You can open a business in less than 24 hours.
Do you know how difficult it is to even file your taxes in the first place? So the body language of government doesn't support. You see, what you do speaks so loud I can't hear what you say.
Yep.
What you do speaks so loud I can't hear what you say. And what the body language of government has been doing is speaking so loud that people can't hear what they say.
Well, thank you.
actions speak louder
Louder than words.
Simple.
Exactly.
Always.
Exactly.
Thank you, Roses.
Thank you so much.